The Nodulator XL is a new, highly active strain of rhizobia, and you might be just asking the question, well, it's just a new strain, what's so important about that? But just as human beings, we're all created not equal. Some of us have better aptitudes for being accountants or being hockey players. We've identified a really superior strain that is really efficient at fixing nitrogen. So in terms of our yields that we've seen a 3 to 8% yield advantage when using Nodulator XL compared to comparative treatments. So that was all done in small scale field plots over 171 sites over a 3-year period. So this year we are doing, as we're launching the product over the course of the summer, we're doing the field scale trials as opposed to the small plot basis going forward. So one of the important distinguishing factors again with Nodulator XL is that it's available for both pea and lentils. There are other products in the market that will only nodulate peas only. So for growers that are growing both peas and lentils, it offers that flexibility for the inoculants to moving back and forth. So it's going to be available for sale in 3 different formulations, just like our current Nodulator brand is sold. So we will have the liquid based, and as well as the self-adhering peat. And the self-adhering peat that we have again is unique compared to other companies in terms that it's sterile. So you don't get other bacteria and other organisms that you not necessarily want in with your inoculant. And the third is granular, and I'll just pass around a few samples for you guys to have a look at too. So coming back, I guess just to one point on the formulations again, going with the new Nodulator XL and the solid core. So we had a look at, and you can see the size difference just in terms of the granules as well. So in terms of the flowability of the drill and less dustiness, like Ralph was mentioning a little bit previously, but it's also available in our quarter packs. So it's available for growers, and the new thing with Nodulator XL is it's actually a reduced planting rate, so it's a lot less handling that growers will have to do in terms of the Nodulator Q packs. So on our old formulation with a regular Nodulator formulation, you would have been a 50-pound bag, for example, would have covered 10 acres. And going forward with the Nodulator XL, that same bag with the new Nodulator XL formulation, we've been being able to load up a higher count. On this, we'll do 15 acres. So it's actually quite dramatic in terms of the reduced handling for growers as well. Most growers have been growing pea and lentil for a long time. Pretty much everybody has experience with peat-based products, and peat-based products are fine, but they're also messy in some situations. But you can also use them in stressful conditions, so in terms of being too wet, too cold, and things like that as well too. You do need to bear in mind a little bit as well in terms of the seed treatment compatibility with peat products, and as well as with liquid. When we talk about liquids again, and it's used in conjunction with a seed treatment, and that too is usually the concern, because seed treatments, fungicides are less toxic than products that also carry insecticides. So the combination products, fungicides and insecticides, are definitely harder on the rhizobia survivability. So liquid formulations are inherently less stable than a granular or a peat formulation, for example. But they offer other advantages in terms of flexibility in the way that you can apply it. So the granular formulations, because you're having that separation from the seed, they were formulated in part for that reason, because you don't run into any challenges with seed treatment compatibility, just because you have that spatial separation in the furrow from the seed treatment that's on the seed. So the peat does offer some flexibility in terms of different application methods. It can be applied in a lot of different ways. It can be, in a slurry. It can be applied dry as well. With granulars, you're really looking at your third tank on an air seeder. You need that third tank on there and able to put your granular down. We are seeing a transition over towards the granular market for sure. We do see yield advantages with growers using granular form of inoculants. Really, it needs to be in furrow and that too. The farther away it is, it just, when it's through the granular, when it's in furrow, it's there ready right away for the roots, you know, for it to be able to make that symbiotic relationship to attach to the roots. So that's really what's required and the most efficient for growers to use. So of course we're standing in a pea crop where it's really important for pulse crops. One of the primary things is that they are able to fix their own nitrogen. So what that plant, the pea plants are able to do is to take the atmospheric nitrogen and they're able to convert it into a usable form that the plants can use. So in terms of crop inputs, it's very economical for growers in terms of saving fertilizer costs and associated. And I can tell. So normally for growers, when they're checking for the nodulation process, generally at least 3 to 4 weeks after crop emergence, growers will want to take a shovel and dig down into the soil just like I have. And you can loosely soften some of the soil, but the best way actually is to take a bucket of water and to soak the plants in there for a few minutes and then come back, and then the soil will be off of there, and then you can have a better look at the plants going forward. So what growers again are looking for is the mass nodules. And you can also tell by looking closely too that the nodules are also pink. That's the sign that the roots and the nodules are healthy, so that it's actually fixing its own nitrogen. If they were still white at this point, it would mean that maybe that the nodules were immature and haven't started fixing nitrogen, but that's telling me it's not the case based on this crop stage that we have here. If you end up with some nodules that are perhaps green or really gray, it might mean that they're actually saprophytic, which means they're parasites on the plant.
Oh, yeah.
Because the rhizobia, when they're working in conjunction with the plant, actually have a symbiotic relationship. So that's really what the grower needs to be looking for in terms of checking their fields for nodulation. Sometimes we'll get phone calls, and a lot of times it's because growers are checking too early. And you have to bear in mind your environmental conditions as well, particularly with the cool, wet conditions that we've had this year. In a lot of cases, it's been a matter of leaving the field alone for another week and then coming back and having a look at it from there. This is very good nodulation, yes, at this point, yeah, you bet. And so the nodules will start to get bigger as well, because when the crop will be fixing the most amount of nitrogen will be during the flowering period as it's producing the seed protein. So going into the next 2 to 3 weeks, it will be fixing the most amount of nitrogen possible. In this field, we actually have a grower that is currently growing with our current nodulator solid core granules, and he's doing a comparison against our Nodulator XL, which will be launching this fall during the sale season. So this is a comparison here with the Nodulator XL, and this is where you need to understand a little bit of the differences in terms of inoculation. So the nodules, it's not always the size that matters, but it's the overall mass that makes a difference as well. So although the Nodulator XL, they appear to be a lot smaller, there's also a lot more of them. So when growers are planting, we're generally recommending that they place less than 20 pounds of nitrogen to allow the rhizobia to fix their own nitrogen, to allow them to do their job. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So really the key factor is you're looking for those bright reddish pink nodules on the plant to tell you that the rhizobia are doing their job.